in what case would it be appropriate to perform irreversible sex change surgery on kids?
Those decisions are made by that individual in consultation with physician and caregivers, and no decision would be made without having consulted appropriately.
There you have it. The Secretary of Health and Human Services, Xavier Beccera, yesterday at a Senate committee hearing speaking to Senator Mike Braun. And you heard him right. Beccera said it is that individual, which he meant a child, should choose for themselves if they want a sex change. For more on this, we want to welcome in our panel today Republican strategist Erin Perrine, and also with us today, the host of the Brett Winterble Show, Brett Winterble. Great to see you both. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, this is, alarming when you have the Health and Human Services on the record and make no mention of, he's not a doctor. He is a lawyer, an attorney general, we should note, making comments like this. I want to get your reaction. Erin, first to you.
Well, your point is perfectly taken there. Yes, Xavier Beccera is not a doctor, but he is doling out medical advice like he has a PhD, which he doesn't. The idea that a child, a minor, would be able to decide for themselves anything of significant consequence for the rest of their life, let alone whether or not to have a sex change surgery, flies in the face of reason. When you go into a court, a child may have a say in whether or not they can live with one parent or another during a divorce, if they'd be deemed an appropriate witness, be deemed an appropriate defendant, if they are charged, how they are charged. But all of a sudden, Xavier Beccera, again, not a doctor, not medically licensed here, giving out medical advice when it comes to children, that flies in the face of everything. But this is what Democrats' strategy is, which is to divide families, to divide parents, to divide children from their parents, so that they can come in and radicalize them to the woke ideology that says, if you're 5 years old, you can decide whether or not to have a sex change surgery, and that is obscene.
It is. And, Brett, to you, we've seen situations where teachers have been saying, well, your child confided in me, not even telling the parents. So now when we hear it from the top, like someone like Beccera, it seems like this is something they want to push forward, with children having too much say for an irreversible life surgery.
My listeners are telling me just how outraged they are, and it goes across the spectrum. Conservatives, liberals, white people, black people, straight, gay, you name it. They don't want kids to be making these sorts of life-altering decisions, literal life-altering decisions. Mm-hmm. And, this guy, Beccera, is a slick customer. In his testimony, he was asked by Braun, why don't you tell us what's involved in these sex reassignment surgeries? He didn't want to go there, just like he didn't want to define what a man or a woman was back a few weeks ago. This guy does not want to be truthful with the American people. He's got to be held to account, and he ought to be bounced. You know what? I got an idea.
Yes.
What do you say we call Alejandro Mayorkas and report Xavier Beccera to the disinformation?
Well, it's funny that you said that, because he was supposedly on the chopping block a few months back, but I guess they need to trot him out there to push these extreme views for now. So while he's useful, guys, I think he's still out there, peddling this stuff. And speaking of peddling lies, you heard President Biden yesterday calling the MAGA movement extreme. Well, then you had White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki giving her take on the GOP today. Let's listen.
And he's been struck by the hold his predecessor seems to have on far too many members, not all, but far too many members of the party. And what we're seeing, the latest antics, make clear that they are at war with Mickey Mouse. They're against allowing women to make choices about their own health care, against lowering the cost of prescription drugs. And if that remains their platform, the president's view is that is out of whack with the mainstream of the country.
At war with Mickey Mouse. I mean, Jen Psaki, there's no way, Erin, she can believe the words that she's saying.
Well, no, because Democrats want everybody to be at war, because they know if they divide the country, that they think they can be more successful by doing that. So what do we see here? We see the President of the United States. We see the White House press secretary, a taxpayer-funded position, standing at the podium in the White House, lambasting 76 million Americans who voted for President Trump, those who felt forgotten and left behind and did not have a voice, but felt for the first time that they, if they voted and got involved, could help make America great again. Shouldn't that be something we all want? A great country that is strong both nationally and internationally, and not lambaste those who have opposing positions. You would think that the White House would want to be a unifier. Wasn't that what Joe Biden ran on? They are all a bunch of hypocrites. And what do we see time and again from the Biden White House? You see blame shifting. You see no regard for the facts, and you see them wanting to tear down America so that they can continue to push a woke ideology that will do nothing but destroy the fabric of our nation.
Exactly, Erin. And, you know, Brett, as we kick it over to you, it's always under this guise as something innocent, like, oh, it's just Mickey Mouse. Oh, Florida's attacking, and you know, Ron DeSantis is you know, heavy-handed. No, I mean, the facts are a lot of these stories come from a fact, not fiction. In fact, we have a story out today that a pansexual teacher in Florida is fired after discussing her own sexuality with students. It's a Cape Coral Middle School teacher. She says her students were just curious about her sexual orientation, so she had a conversation with them. This is happening in schools, and that's why there are laws being made to protect children from people talking about things that are not age appropriate. Brett.
It's absolutely right. Look, as a parent of a couple of teenagers, I can tell you this right now. I don't want teachers talking to my kids about their sexuality, really at any age, okay? It's not appropriate for kids to be having that conversation with teachers. If a teacher talked to them about it in a parking lot of a mall, they'd probably face arrest. But because they're in the classroom, you know, it just doesn't make any sense. But look, the reality is Mickey Mouse got political before the American people got political. People loved going to Disneyland and Disney World, and it was only the decision to go political that really harmed their brand. And that's what's really unacceptable about this whole process. And by the way, Joe Biden hasn't gotten a single policy right in 55 years of existence in the body politic. We don't need to take any advice from him. There's a huge assumption laid out by the Democratic Party, by Jen Psaki, assuming that all women are Democrats. No, I see those rallies, and I see a lot of mama bears out there looking to protect their kids. So let's not make assumptions, White House spokesperson Psaki.
Yep, and I just want to put this up for you guys just to end your thought here. We take you from Florida to California. A man dressed up in a gender unicorn costume for a school board meeting. Chrissy Clark, great friend of the program here for the Daily Caller, showed us this. So apparently this is okay, but if you're in Loudoun County, you're a domestic terrorist because you don't want people to come in and harm your child. About 30 seconds to each one of you. Erin, to you. This seems to be a joke, but it's not. It's not Babylon Bee.
Unfortunately, it's not a joke. Democrats are completely serious on the sexualization of children, and that's what they're trying to do in schools. They want to have conversations with kids anywhere from age 5 up about things that they should not be having conversations about at that age. Let's worry about the jobs of the future. Let's worry about getting our kids to read, write, and be the best scientists and mathematicians in the world, and less about sexualized unicorns.
Yeah, Brent, final word to you on the unicorn picture of the day here. We've got about 20 seconds.
Look, he probably left Disneyland and didn't have time to put into an appropriate outfit to come to the school board meeting. This is typical fare for the state of California. I'm not surprised. It's as radical as it gets, and it's why people are fleeing it every day.
And guess where they're coming? To Florida. Brent Winterble, Erin Perrine, thank you so much.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.